What's up, Taiwan? I'm Louise with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. A deadly typhoon is just off northern Taiwan, prompting sea and land warnings. Rick Lowett reports from the northern port city of Keelung.
Right now, Typhoon Khanun is a few hundred kilometers from here, and it's expected to slowly skirt past Taiwan's north coast. It's already brought gusts of 50 kilometers an hour, 6-meter high waves, and heavy rain to this part of Taiwan. Cities in northern Taiwan, including the capital Taipei, are shutting down schools and workplaces. Dozens of flights have been cancelled and all ferry services across the country have been suspended. Hundreds of soldiers are on standby to deal with flooding and storm damage. Typhoon Khanun already caused deaths and left hundreds of thousands of people without power when it hit nearby Okinawa. Northern Taiwan is now battening down the hatches. Authorities hope these precautions can prevent damage. Howard Zhang and Rick Lowett in Keelung, northern Taiwan for TaiwanPlus.
With a typhoon nearby, parts of northern Taiwan are having what's known as a Typhoon Day. As Bing Wong now reports, schools, government offices and some restaurants are closed.
As Typhoon Khanun moves closer to northern Taiwan, people in the country's capital, Taipei, are stocking up with toilet paper, instant noodles, and vegetables. The typhoon is currently brushing by Taiwan with rains and high winds. Authorities have called for a Typhoon Day, closing schools and government offices in northern parts of Taiwan, including Taipei, New Taipei City, Keelung, and Yilan County. Some private sector businesses, such as banks and restaurants, have also closed for the day. Taiwan usually sees 3 or 4 typhoons a year, but since 2010, the number making landfall has fallen to an average of 2.5. But 2019 was the last time a tropical storm made landfall in Taiwan. President Tsai visited the Central Disaster Response Center in New Taipei and thanked the team for monitoring the storm.
我们现在碰到的是年度大潮的期间啊，那沿海低洼地区呢，要留意海水倒灌以及积淹水，危险的场所和活动不要去，例如危险的河床、登山、溯溪、观浪、戏水、钓鱼都不要去。
There are very few people on Taipei streets, with most going out to grab supplies before the storm.
我们打算坐捷运到处晃一晃吧，不然很多店家也没有开。对啊，因为台风嘛，有可能最后去桃园吧，桃园没放。
趁风还没有很大的时候，先来带小朋友来这边玩一下。
And in keeping with the Taiwanese Typhoon Day tradition, karaoke shops are open and fully booked, as many like to pass the storm safe indoors with friends. The Central Weather Bureau expects the storm to last for another 24 hours, and people here in Taipei are doing the best they can to make sure they have enough goods to last through the entire typhoon. Scott Huang and Bing Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Japan and South Korea are in the grip of a dangerous heat wave. It's led to a boom in sales for fans and other cooling devices, and in Korea, calls for safer conditions for those who work outdoors. John Van Trieste has this update.
In central Tokyo, yet another day of scorching heat. With temperatures well into the 30s, sun umbrellas, portable fans, and bottled water are becoming hot commodities.
2週間ぐらい前に熱中症になっちゃって、そこから暑さ対策しようかなと思って、普段は髪の毛を下ろしてるんですけど。 後ろ結んだりとか扇風機使って、あとは水分補給しながら暑さ対策してるって感じですね。
日傘で暑さ対策してます。3、4年前ぐらいから日焼けしたくないなっていう理由で始めたんですけど、今すごい暑いんでちょっと意味なくなってきてるかなって思います。
In neighboring South Korea, the mercury is also hitting the 30s. More than 20 have died from the heat this year, and the country's issued its highest heat warning since 2019. On Wednesday, construction workers gathered outside the presidential office in Seoul to protest having to work as normal in dangerously hot conditions.
대한민국 현재 폭염이 절정에 다다르고 있는 것 같습니다. 35도 이상을 웃돌고 있는데 건설 노동자들은 휴게실에서 쉴 수 없고 화장실에서 볼일을 보기가 어렵습니다. 시설이 부족하거나 없는 게 문제가 되고 있어서 법제화해 줄 것을 요구하고 있는 기자회견을 벌였습니다.
And now, after a July that broke temperature records across the world, August shows no signs of cooling off. Ethan Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
It's been 1 year since then US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taipei. It was a trip that prompted China to launch some of its largest military drills ever around Taiwan. Reporter Jeremy Olivier looks back on Pelosi's visit and the impact it had.
It was hailed as a historic event. 1 year ago, then U.S. Speaker of the House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi came to Taiwan for a brief visit. She was the first House Speaker to do so in over 2 decades. Pelosi framed her trip as a show of U.S. support for Taiwan. But behind the scenes, many officials had worries about China's reaction, including some within Pelosi's own party. Before her trip, President Joe Biden voiced some of those concerns to the media.
The military thinks it's not a good idea right now, but I don't know what the status of it is.
Despite the risks, Pelosi's trip went ahead as planned. During her stay, she met with President Tsai Ing-wen and other officials. The response on the ground in Taiwan was mixed. Some came out to show their support, while pro-China groups held their own protests. Others were not so won over by Pelosi's presence, feeling that Taiwan was being used more as a prop in a spat between 2 superpowers.
没有什么实质的帮助，对啊，那最终我们也只是沦为别人的棋子而已，对吧？那其实台湾要走出自己的路线很困难，哎呀，我们变得不伦不类了，哎呀，这没办法。
Pelosi repeatedly said her trip did not represent a change in U.S. Taiwan policy.
We have said from the start that our representation here is not about changing the status quo here in Asia, changing the status quo in Taiwan.
But this wasn't enough to appease China. Beijing launched large-scale military exercises around Taiwan, conducting live-fire and anti-submarine drills, and test-firing missiles into the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan said these drills amounted to a blockade, and China has continued to ramp up its military pressure on the island nation since then. On Wednesday, Pelosi released a statement reflecting on her visit last August. She said, "The response to our visit that I have received from around the world has been very positive, and in the year since, many additional engagements with Taiwan, including visits from members of Congress, from the House and the Senate, and from both parties, have further deepened bilateral ties." The past year has seen Taiwan's relations with the U.S. continue to strengthen. Meanwhile, tensions with China have only gotten worse. And while the visit did set a precedent for future high-level visits from U.S. officials, how much it truly benefited Taiwan is still up for debate. Klein Wang and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwanese phone company T-Star is facing a record $500,000 US fine for poor internal controls. That's after Chinese scammers managed to get thousands of SIM cards, giving them access to the personal information of Taiwanese citizens. The scammers use this info to register on e-commerce platforms and run their scams. Investigators say a company insider helped them without raising suspicion. Authorities in Taichung City are blaming a surge of food delivery services for a major backlog in trash disposal. Charlie Storer has more.
Every day, garbage trucks deliver their load of non-recyclable household waste to incinerators like this one in the central city of Taichung. But there's a problem. The trash is coming in at a faster rate than it can be burnt. Last year, the city produced an average of 230 metric tons a day of garbage, over and above what it could handle. The city's Environmental Protection Administration believes it knows where the problem is coming from and when it started.
受我们疫情影响我们有很多外送的那个饮食垃圾的部分，使得我们的垃圾量人均垃圾量有增加的情形。
Online food delivery services have exploded in Taiwan in the last few years. Armies of delivery riders ply the streets of the country's cities, and each delivery comes packaged in single-use containers, sometimes with single-use eating utensils, all of it destined for the trash. Garbage that can't be processed immediately by the incinerators is brought here to a landfill site in the city's Dali district. At the end of 2020, the amount of garbage at the site amounted to 80,000 metric tons. At the end of last year, the amount had almost tripled to 230,000 tons. Taichung plans to replace its existing incinerators to increase disposal capacity. But the local EPA says they need to bring down the average amount of household waste per capita. To that end, it's proposing a plan to attach a garbage disposal fee to each bag of trash. The city is also considering incentives to get people to waste less. Devin Tsai and Charlie Storer for TaiwanPlus.
More and more women in Taiwan are thinking of their careers rather than starting a family. At the same time, egg freezing, which gives women the option of having children later in life, is becoming more popular. But access to this procedure is limited. Yujing Huang has the details.
Hoping to increase her chances of having healthy children in the future, 33-year-old Vivian Tong is preparing to have her eggs frozen. A single career woman, she wants to have more options later in life, while spending her current time concentrating on her work. And Tong is not alone. A recent study from the National Taiwan University Hospital found that the number of women aged between 35 to 39 who are choosing to have their eggs frozen has nearly doubled in the past 3 years. For many, it's basically become a form of insurance.
他年纪越来越大，可能不好生啊，生不出来。那另外一方面就是，其实我发现，就我跟我的朋友之间，我们也都蛮重视，就是未来可能小孩子的健康程度。那就是其实也有查到资料说，卵子对于宝宝的发育是蛮重要的。
Egg freezing is becoming increasingly popular in Taiwan. This is happening as people here are getting married later in life, with the average age for a first marriage hitting a record high this year, at almost 32 years old. Taiwan's birth rate is also among the lowest in the world. Some local governments see egg freezing as a solution and started to subsidize the technology. The founder of Taiwan's first egg bank, Lai Xinhua, predicts that demand will jump this year.
其实预估今年可能会更多，今年应该会，因为现在普遍未婚的女性都有这个冻卵这个 sense， 她们也真的有需求，所以我预估今年说不定有可能比去年又成长超过50%。
But even though women like Tong have more options than previous generations, they still face restrictions. Under Taiwan's current law, women cannot use their frozen eggs unless they have a male spouse. And authorities say the rule won't change anytime soon.
还要再审慎评估，因为毕竟这个会涉及到不同的这个议题啦，包括伦理啦，还有这个医疗啦，还有法治面啦。
Although there are still limits under Taiwan's law, Tong feels a lot more secure with her future options expanded. And a lot could still happen in the next few years, whether she's able to find a life partner or if Taiwan adopts more progressive policies. Clive Wang and Yujing Huang for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwanese entertainer No has been released on bail after being questioned over a series of accusations of sexual assault and harassment. Taipei prosecutors summoned him on Wednesday, later releasing him on a $16,000 US bail. Police also searched his home and office, seizing cell phones and other devices. No is accused of harassing or assaulting around 10 women. It's the latest case in what has become known as Taiwan's Me Too movement, which has seen prominent figures in academia, politics, and entertainment accused of sexual misconduct. In sports, Taiwan has won its second gold at the World University Games in Chengdu, China. Taiwan's mixed badminton team bested their Chinese rivals on Tuesday night. After falling behind early in the game, Team Taiwan came back to claim the gold in a closely contested fifth match. Taiwan has so far got 2 golds, 9 silver, and 11 bronze medals at the World University Games, ranking 9th in the overall medal table. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally today, we leave you with images of northern Taiwan feeling the impact of Typhoon Khanun. I'm Louise Watt. Take care, and I'll see you next time.